Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis both met with the media on the eve of the start of training camp. And here was Dennis Allen, his opening thoughts as begins training camp number 2 as the Saints head coach.
Man, I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about where we're at as a team. You know, we're finishing up with the physicals right now, so I can't give you a full list of who will or won't participate. But my anticipation is that we'll have everybody available to participate in some form or fashion for practice tomorrow.
And that includes Michael Thomas, who Dennis Allen did say they expect Michael Thomas to be a full participant. I know Nick Underhill from New Orleans.football reported that on Monday evening, and Dennis Allen did confirm that today. They are expecting Michael Thomas to be a full participant. What was interesting to me is, as the Saints had this sort of flurry of signings here right before the start of camp, which makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, you're going to go to camp. You want to make sure that if there's spots where you have issues or you need depth, you add those spots now as you start camp and let guys go compete for a potential roster spot throughout training camp. But Mickey Loomis was asked today if there were other spots that he saw as a need. Give a listen.
There's probably a couple spots. I don't want to identify them. There's a couple that I wouldn't mind, having another player that has played in the NFL, but nothing glaring that I'm losing sleep over.
Yeah, nothing glaring, but he said there's a couple of spots where he would like a player who has played in the NFL. For me, this is super easy to identify what those spots are that Mickey Loomis is talking about. I mean, just run through it. Number one, it's not quarterback. Right? You feel really good about quarterback. You've got Andy Dalton, you've got Jameis Winston, you've even brought in Jake Haener as a rookie, but you got two guys that you feel good about there. It's not the offensive line. Clearly, you've just supplemented on the offensive line, so you're good there. Clearly not tight end. They went and added Jimmy Graham, and we all know it ain't receiver because they got a boatload of receivers. On the defensive line, if you're thinking about players where positions where you would like more guys who have played in the NFL, well, I could take a look at defensive tackle. Of course, you added a couple of guys there in free agency, and you drafted Brian Brzee. But you're thin there on the interior. That's safe to say as far as guys with skins on the wall. The spot that's the most obvious is linebacker. And we continue to talk about that. If you look at the Saints' base defense, if they're in a base 4-3, I mean, you've got Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Behind them, it's Andrew Dowell and DeMarco Jackson. DeMarco Jackson was injured, didn't play at all last year as a rookie, and Andrew Dowell has been a special teamer, a nice backup piece. And then the third team are two guys who are, you got Anthony Orji, who's an undrafted rookie, and then Ty Summers, who's played a little bit in the NFL, but mostly as a special team or backup type guy. So it's very clear. When you look at your Will and your Mike spots, you need guys that have played in the NFL. If there's an opportunity throughout this training camp to add an inside linebacker who has NFL experience, that's got to be the spot. The other, and I don't know, maybe some of you might disagree with this, but the other are your safety spots. I mean, you feel good about Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus Maye if they're healthy. Both were actually really good last year when they were healthy. Tyrann pushed 100 tackles last year. The problem is after them, Jonathan Abram, who again has experience in the Raiders organization, but Jordan Hoden, Smoke Monday, who was injured all last year as a rookie, a JT Gray, who's a special teams ace, but do you really want to count on him at safety? Ugo Amadi is someone that they're high on, but man, you just don't have, a lot of experience and depth there. So those are the two spots. I mean, it's linebacker and it's safety. And I guess you could also, by extension, say defensive line. But you got Shepard and Saunders, who are both starters who played in the NFL. Brzee and Roach would be your backups right there. And you're hoping for a nice rookie year from Brzee because you took him in round one. And Roach has been a rotational player and looks like he'd fill that role as well. But it's all on the defensive side. And because that's Dennis Allen's baby, I wouldn't be surprised if they did identify players as you go through camp that would make sense, that would fit what the New Orleans Saints were looking for right there if they found veterans that they could add on that side of the ball. Now, two guys that I am interested in keeping an eye on in camp are the guys that were first-round picks the last 2 years that haven't produced for you, largely due to injury, but also because of just lack of production. That would be Peyton Turner and Trevor Penning. First, Dennis Allen on the goals for Peyton Turner here in this camp, and what's a pretty big third year for him, because the Saints are going to have to make a decision after this year if they're interested in picking up his fifth-year option.
Number one, be available. And number two, just continue to improve every day. I thought it was good to have him out there for a full offseason, and I thought he improved throughout OTAs and training camp. I'm looking for more development out of him this year. And I'm not focused on the end result. I'm focused on the process. And I just want to see him be available and then continue to get better day in and day out.
5 games as a rookie, 8 games last year in 2022 for Peyton Turner. So in 2 years in the NFL, he's played in a total of 13 games with 28 tackles. I mean, that's a guy who just flatly, you invested a first-round pick in him. You've got to get more from Peyton Turner. The other is Trevor Penning, who last year, of course, you used the first round, your second of 2 first-round picks on Trevor Penning, and was injured in the preseason and missed the bulk of last season. Here was an update on Penning heading into this camp.
Obviously, he's worked his tail off this offseason to get himself healthy, and that's where he's at right now. So there's certainly a significant portion, of time loss, and we don't get a chance to get those reps back, but I like where he's at right now. And look, the thing that he needs to get out there on the practice field and get reps. And so that'll be a process that we'll go throughout training camp. So you wish he hadn't missed that time, but that is what it is. And now it's his time to get out there and get some reps and get better.
And the hope is to win the starting left tackle job. I mean, I will say that point blank. Dennis Allen's not going to say it today, but that's the goal. You took this guy in round 1. You fancy him as your franchise left tackle. You saw Teron Armstead leave in free agency. James Hurst has filled that sort of out of necessity, but that's not a guy you fancy as your franchise left tackle. You invested the draft capital into Penning to be that guy. Now he needs to go be that guy. It's year 2. He played in 6 games a year ago. It sucks that it was due to injury, but this is the time to go maul people and win that starting left tackle job. Now, as far as Hurst, this is why this is interesting. Allen was asked if they see Hurst as a tackle or as a guard.
One of the great qualities about James Hurst is that we do feel like he's a starting caliber player at both guard and tackle. And look, Andrus has played guard and he's played tackle at times for us. So having the versatility, having the depth, having the competition, I think is all good. So you're going to see throughout training camp guys, lining up in some different positions and doing some different things. And ultimately we'll let that competition play out and then we'll make the best decision for our football team when it comes to the end of training camp.
Obviously, versatility matters. Sinio Kelmete, if you remember him, was a great example of that. That was a guy that could play any of the 5 positions on the offensive line. You saw him play center. You saw him play left tackle. I mean, you saw him play everywhere on the line. And usually you have swing guys that play on the inside or on the outside. Will Clapp was a great example of that. Will could play center or either guard spot. When you look at Hurst, he's a guy that's played really the 2 tackle spots. You would love, love, love to see Trevor Penning win the left tackle job opposite of Ryan Ramczyk. You know what your interior of your line is going to look like. And then maybe you've got great competition with the 2 veterans that you just brought in, with Garcia and Trey Turner. And then maybe Hurst factors into that as well as your swing tackle. And one of those other guys I just mentioned wins a job on the interior. Maybe you give Nick Saldiveri a de facto redshirt year if he goes to IR. I don't know if he will, but it's a 4th-round pick and you're high on him. He gives you an option in the future with both of your starting guards, with Ruiz and Pete, in the final year of their contracts. Well, let me rephrase that. Ruiz, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's going to be a free agent after the season. Andrus Pete, they basically offer, the way they restructured, they off-ramp after this year. So he's basically down to the final year of his deal. So, yeah, you need options for next year, and any of these guys could end up being it. So, excited to see it all get going. Most of the eyeballs are going to be on Derek Carr, and I understand why. I think the receiver battle is going to be fascinating because you have so many talented guys there to see who emerges. It's going to be interesting. We always want to see the rookies. And with Brzee and Foskey, they're going to get so much of the attention. But how those offensive line spots shake out, do you develop depth at linebacker and safety? Those are some of the real key issues on this team as they head to training camp. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.